Yo, what's up? It's your boy Domuto. We're back with another video. Today we're watching No One Cares About XXL Freshmen Anymore, and here's why. Yeah, XXL has definitely fell off a lot over the years. I feel like, I don't know, there's no superstars. There's no stars. There's nobody that's like, oh, he the next big thing. Like, there's some nice rappers that come through, make a couple of hits, but there haven't been no stars since 16, 17 maybe? Like, let's be honest. Let's get into it.
XXL is a very popular magazine in the hip-hop space, but they are especially known for their annual freshman classes. Every year they release a list of 10 artists that are on the rise, doing all sorts of content with them, but people have always gravitated towards the ciphers. The annual freshman lists and
That's
ciphers
the top tier
have
right
always
there.
generated a lot of buzz. However, it seems like people's interest is dwindling. Since 2016, the views on the ciphers in particular have gone down 98%. Just recently, they released the 2023 ciphers, and it has been met with a lot of negative reception. So after looking into it, I've come up with 3 reasons as to why interest in XXL has declined over the years. But first, to understand, we have to go way back to when XXL was just a small magazine.
Talk about it.
Reggie Dennis, Robert Marriott, and James Bernard started XXL. These 3 were all previously editors from The Source, which was another magazine in the hip-hop space. For a while, XXL lived in the shadow of The Source, and the 2 magazines even had some beef. They also actually had some beef with Eminem, who was upset at them because they said they don't do articles on white rappers, but after he blew up, they did a story on him saying he was a culture vulture and a KKK member. So he dissed them on the song Marshall Mathers with some pretty hilarious lines. Funnily enough, XXL actually responded to the diss by putting Eminem on the cover of one of their magazines, which is pretty crazy. Anyways, the first issue that XXL ever released was a double cover with Master P and Jay-Z. In the early 2000s, XXL began reaching higher heights and becoming a much more important magazine in the hip-hop community. They had made up with Eminem and sort of began to replace The Source in popularity. Paul Cantor of Medium.com said that by the time he started writing for XXL in 2004, things were booming. Meanwhile, the internet was becoming much more popular, and by 2007, there were a ton of blogs in the hip-hop space popping up. XXL was on top of things though, and created a website to publish articles very quickly. They were able to maintain relevance through this quick adaptation. Then in 2008, after almost 9 years of working there, the chief editor of XXL, Elliot Wilson, was let go from the company, not before leaving behind a crucial idea. Elliot, along with his staff, came up with the iconic annual freshman class list, which would be what XXL is best known for today. Elliot Wilson and the rest of the staff at XXL released the first issue of the freshman class in 2007.
I've seen him before.
Vanessa Satin, the current chief editor of XXL, said that they were tired of putting the same faces and big artists on their covers, so they wanted to showcase newer artists on the scene. The 2007 class featured artists like Lupe Fiasco, Lil Boosie, Plies, and more. The first freshman class was simply a magazine with no extra online content, as they were just kind of getting into the digital world. In 2008, they didn't release a freshman class issue, likely because Elliot Wilson left that year. Then in 2009, Vanessa Satin became the chief editor of XXL, and she was clearly invested in all of the different mediums of content that XXL was putting out.
And you've got to double up on content. You've got to be able to do content for a daily basis and then for a monthly basis. What you do for a website, that's
what I'm doing with the reactions, but I'm not subscribing.
So you just have to be familiar with what you're creating.
Subscribe, baby.
For what audience your audiences are, based on whether it's the magazine or the website, because they can be the same audience or they can be different.
So likely under her direction in the 2009 freshman class issue, they put out much more content with the artists. They put out 3 covers with different artists like Wale, B.O.B., Kid Cudi, and more. However, it was also the first year where they released a cappella freestyles with each artist. They also released a freestyle with Asher Roth, Charles Hamilton, and Mickey Fax, who were actually freestyling, going back and forth, having fun, with a beat playing in the background.
Like I told him, so go ahead and handle it.
Yo, hats off to Ash Roth.
Now it's time for me to blast off astronaut.
Kid Cudi even popped in for a quick bar. And while it wasn't technically the first cypher, it essentially set the foundation for what would happen in the coming years. Following that, in 2010, they had one of their best freshman classes ever that would really set a precedent.
2010 was different.
Vanessa had stated in interviews that they wanted to get artists that were set to blow and show a lot of longevity, without them having a debut studio album out with a record label. She had also mentioned that the freshman class is the XXL staff's opinions about which artists are up next, and that it wasn't entirely objective or voted in by fans. So with that in mind, I think XXL was right on the money when they chose artists like J. Cole, Nipsey Hussle,
this is crazy.
Wiz Khalifa, Freddie Gibbs, J-Rock, and many.
This is crazy. This is crazy. Cole, Nipsey Hussle, Wiz, Big Sean, Freddie Gibbs. I forgot about OJ the Juice Man. Goddamn, J-Rock. Some tough ones. There's some tough ones.
More for the 2010 freshman class. As far as content goes, they released the magazine
R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle.
acapella freestyles with each artist. The next year, XXL would make another significant change that would become quite iconic in years to come, and that was the release of the freshman ciphers. The 2011 class featured plenty of great picks like
K-Dot,
Lil B, Kendrick Lamar,
Diggy Simmons,
and Meek Mill. They released a ton of extra content like the roundtable interviews.
The XXL freshman cover is that one thing that you always strive for when you start really getting serious, when you like always would get the cover and you'd be like, one day maybe I'm gonna be on there, and it's just wild to actually be on there.
Right. You know what I mean? Because we coming up, we look at this magazine, you know what I mean? Just the shit, we gotta jump on it, and to even be in it and then be on it, that's amazing.
And of course, the ciphers. Pretty quickly, the XXL freshman list became a staple in hip-hop culture, signifying that an artist was on the come-up and was up next. They were only a couple years in and were pretty accurate with their picks. XXL was also a very popular
that was 2011 is crazy.
So the freshman list had some extra credibility.
If you are nominated to be on this cover, that's like a form of acclamation saying that you're on your way up the ladder.
They were so popular and important that people would argue every single year over who should have made the list. And the controversy really helped the list become even more popular.
Personally, I'm going to speak my mind.
Please.
I think a lot of the motherfuckers on the list is corny as
Some lists were definitely better than others, but XXL was fairly accurate.
What year are you talking about? What ASAP talking about?
In 2012, they had picks like Future, Danny Brown, French Montana, MGK, and more. They also introduced the ability for fans to vote for the 10th spot winner.
That's a decent one.
2012 was Iggy Azalea. 2013 was stacked with artists like Schoolboy Q, Joey Badass, Ab Soul, Logic, Travis Scott, and even Chief.
That's a decent one.
Actually couldn't make the shoot since he was in jail, so they had to edit him into the cover. In 2014, XXL featured freshmen such as Chance the Rapper, Lil Bibby, Ty
Kevin
Gates, Lil Durk, Isaiah Rashad, and more. Another fun fact is that
XXL
had also been releasing mixtapes.
This is still some heat.
2010 to 2014, and I'm not sure why they stopped, but I think it'd be really cool if they brought it back. Also in 2014, they stopped releasing physical magazines, instead opting to go fully digital. In 2015, they released the freshman cover with artists like Fetty Wap, Vince Staples, Rory, and more. However, in 2016, something happened that would change XXL forever. In 2016, XXL released their freshman class list featuring 21 Savage.
This one is crazy.
Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Dicky, Anderson .Paak, G Herbo, Dave East, Designer, and the 10th spot winner, Lil Yachty. At first, there were a lot of people who were upset because there weren't as many lyricists on the list like there had usually been. The list was full of a bunch of mumble rappers, if you guys remember that ancient phrase. Regardless, they released the ciphers for these artists, and they were again met with many mixed reviews. A lot of people at first clowned and made memes about the artists and their ciphers, with people even writing up articles saying it was the worst cipher of all time. If only they knew what was coming. However, something stuck out about this cipher. Of course, I'm referring to the one with 21, Kodak, Denzel, Uzi, and Yachty. You guys know them.
That one.
They seem to be having a ton of fun. They all had really good chemistry, and the verses were all actually pretty solid. Uzi's verse shouting everyone out, everyone smiling in the background, everyone ad-libbing each other during one another's verses, Kodak making fun of the beat and everyone laughing. And I think
who the hell picked those savage ass beats?
It was a super fun cipher with
savage ass beats.
for ciphers. The only
I gotta
ciphers
rewatch
I
that
think
one.
that come close in this sort of chemistry and fun energy are the ones with Kendrick and Lil B, Lil Durk and Ty Dolla $ign cipher, and the one in 2009, which wasn't even really a cipher. Everything from the cipher to the cover for the 2016 class was perfect, especially the tagline, "The New Wave," because after looking back in retrospect, they really were. However, the 2016 freshman class was in some way a double-edged sword. On one hand, it would eventually make people much more interested in the
probably the
XXL
peak.
freshman list, hoping that they would see some more fun ciphers and other great content surrounding their favorite artists. But it also brings me to my
2016 was
first
peak.
reason as to why XXL is declining.
It fell
That is because,
off
on the
after
other
this.
hand, it likely set people's expectations way too high for what would happen in future.
What year was
ciphers.
the XXL
Chemistry,
Tentacion one?
variety,
That
and
shit
overall
was.
fun in the 2016
That's when I knew that
ciphers
shit
weren't
fell.
very
I was like,
common
ooh,
beforehand,
yeah.
and they weren't super common afterwards, leading people to be disappointed with the upcoming ciphers. They also got very lucky with their picks because pretty much everyone from that class went on to have a very successful career, and they haven't really been able to replicate that on most of the more recent classes. Regardless, the 2016 ciphers have the most views on average than any other class. Following the hype of the 2016 freshman class, XXL came through again with a lot of solid picks for 2017. Although a handful of artists from that class wouldn't go on to be as big as the 2016 class, they still featured people like X, Amine, Playboi Carti, and others. At the time though, these artists were super hot, and these ciphers became the second most viewed.
We found out X cursed
X's
XXL
in particular went viral
Yeah,
after his
he cursed that
verse.
motherfucker.
Aside from that though,
Whatever
this
he was
class
jibber
and
jabbing
ciphers
about.
were a lot of fun. However, in 2018, the
Yeah,
freshman class
yeah.
would highlight yet another issue that I
JID
think
cold,
causing
though.
people
Fuck all
to
that.
lose interest in XXL. One thing that had become much more evident in ciphers with artists like Fetty Wap, Designer, Cardi, and now most of the 2018 class is that rap is changing. A lot of artists are less reliant on lyricism and instead focus on production, vocals, and melodies to make a good track. This is very evident in Pump, Black Boy, and Perp's cipher. They were having a lot of fun and had great chemistry, but they weren't good at all. They all did see success in their careers though, because their strengths were in their ability to write
Black Boy
catchy hooks
JP.
and rely heavily on their production. As Medium.com says, if they really want to get things right, and if they really want to be relevant and respectful of modern music, XXL magazine needs to do what responsible leaders do when traditions become archaic and outdated. They need to highlight the talents of the artist past only lyricism. And this is a really good point because a lot of artists nowadays in the rap scene aren't as reliant on lyricism as previous rappers were. Of course, I can't ignore Jid and Ski's cipher as they both had great verses and are much better fit for a cipher,
Yeah.
but the rest I can't say the same about. 2019 had a solid freshman class too with artists
Oh,
like
yeah, this
Cordae,
was alright.
Megan
This
Thee
was
Stallion,
alright.
Rico Nasty, DaBaby, and others.
This was
However,
alright.
a few artists on this list like Blueface, Lil Mosey, and YK Osiris helped demonstrate the idea that ciphers don't work out for every artist. The 2020 list was also very solid, featuring artists like Polo G, Jack Harlow, Emily
That's
Chapo,
not bad
Rod
either.
Wave, and many more great picks. The ciphers were actually pretty good, and even the more melodic artists performed very well. I don't think anyone really even had a bad verse. The beats were catered to them, and it was a really good class. It was actually the last round of ciphers to average 10 million or more views, and from there, it would be
Damn.
downhill. Following the 2020 freshman class, views on the ciphers and
Wish-
overall interest began to decline. In 2021, the class featured artists like Ian Dior, 42 Doug, Pooh Shiesty, and others.
This cover
These ciphers
ass.
averaged 75%
Oh yeah,
less
DDG,
views than
yeah.
previous
Oh,
years.
Coily
22,
Ray,
The
yeah.
freshman class featured Babytron, Saucy Santana, Sofego,
Cali.
Nardo Wick, and more. This class again wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good compared to the previous classes.
This one
and
wasn't-
had
nah,
even
nah,
less
these
views on
verses was
average than the
ass.
previous year. And now we get
I
to
remember
this
watching
year's
this,
freshman
I
class,
think I
which has been
did on
facing
this channel.
a ton of criticism. The class had artists like Glorilla, Central C, La Tyler, and more. The announcement video had less views than any other announcement video before. All you gotta do is look at the like ratios and the comments to get an idea of how fans are feeling. And I think I've come up with a reason for this lack of interest. So my third and final reason for the decline of XXL is because rap in general is kind of getting stale. Now before you get mad at me, hear me out real quick. At first I was gonna say that picks recently have been weak, but then I thought, who else could they really pick?
Like a little
lot
Lil
of
Brook-
big
Lil
artists
Brook
to come
get-
out recently, like
Never
Yeet
mind.
or Ice Spice, have declined XXL, so there really weren't too many other options. No matter who XXL picked, there aren't a lot of artists right
This
now
nigga
that are
started
going
dancing.
to blow up to a big mainstream level, and that's not even the artist's fault. Recently, rap has been declining statistically.
Yeah.
An article from Billboard states that rap has slightly dipped in its musical market share as other genres like rock and country have been growing quite a bit. And of course, I'm not trying to make this stupid argument that rap is dead like like I've seen a lot of other outlets do. I just think there aren't many new artists blowing up to a mainstream level right now. The first rap album to go #1 this year was 6 Months In from Lil Uzi Vert, which kind of demonstrates the fact that artists who were previously successful will still pull numbers, but there aren't just as many new guys doing that. In the early 2010s, you had scenes with artists like Mac Miller, Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole, and others blowing up. In the mid-2010s, you had the SoundCloud era with Uzi, Cardi, X, Juice WRLD, and people like that blowing up. And in the late 2010s, we had people like Roddy, Polo G, DaBaby, and others blowing up. But this decade, I'd argue that we haven't really seen any scenes like that.
No, nobody knew.
Mainstream level.
Yeah.
Of course, there are little pockets like Detroit rap, the Opium sound, the drill sound, but there really hasn't been one scene that's taken over the mainstream. And that's perfectly okay. I'm not blaming the artists or the community or the fans. I think that things need to get a little bit stagnant so that people want to hear something new. So I'm really just saying all this to dissuade hate from the newer artists on the new covers. I don't think the freestyles were bad. I think a lot of them make pretty good music. I just think the whole genre or scene as a whole isn't as interesting to mainstream listeners as it has been. Of course, I'm sure this will change. I think rap is going to be one of the top dog genres just as it has been for the last few decades.
You think so, Matty?
I think it'll be like that for quite a while. So in my opinion, because of the high standards set in 2016, the outdated style of cyphers in general, and the overall disinterest in the rap scene from mainstream listeners is why the XXL freshman list has been on decline. But like I said, it isn't all bad, and I'm sure a new sound will come out and captivate mainstream fans and bring a whole lot more
rap backwards, nigga.
Artists.
That's
a
new sound.
XXL will be on top of it, just like they have been in previous years. Let me know down below in the comments if you disagree with me or if you agree with my take on this, or if maybe you have another possible reason. I don't really do opinionated videos like.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I definitely felt like rap has definitely taken a decline with no new rappers. Everything sounded the same. Like, we're tired. Like, why like new rap songs these days pretty much sample a popular beat. That's pretty much in that's how they catch the ear of listeners nowadays. Like, you know, Coi Leray, what her song plays. I'm not saying Coi Leray sucks or nothing, but I'm just saying I'm just saying that song specifically. It been plenty of songs. People just, you know what I'm saying, they just bite people's samples and rap over it, and like, no, nigga, come up with your own beats and make a good song. You know what I'm saying? Stop sampling as much. I love a good sample. If the sample fire, I'll fuck with it. But nah, nigga, y'all sampling every fucking thing, bro. Alright. But anyway, you like my reaction, so like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.